Welcome, dear listeners, to today's special storytelling session titled 22 Profound Ancient Tales Teaching That Life and Death Are Predestined. Wealth and honor come from heaven. In ancient times, people deeply believed in destiny, often saying, life and death are predestined. Wealth and honor come from heaven. Whatever fate has predetermined will surely arrive at its appointed time. Anything not predestined should not be forced. Are these sayings true? Let's explore together through these thoughtful ancient stories. Story 1. Life and death are predestined. Wealth and honor come from heaven. The saying, life and death are predestined, wealth and honor come from heaven, implies that every event we encounter in life is tied to our fate. Destiny and career paths are predetermined, and so fortune or misfortune is destined to happen precisely when it should. Life and death are predestined. In the historical book Taiping Guangji, there is a story about Crown Prince Li during the time when Empress Wu Zetian exterminated the emperor's clan. The crown prince was brought before the imperial court and sentenced to death. He sighed deeply and said, "If my death is unavoidable, why stain the executioner's blade with my blood?" That night, he hanged himself using his clothing. Surprisingly, the next morning at dawn, the crown prince awakened, alive and well, laughing and eating naturally, as if nothing had happened. His appearance remained unchanged for days afterward. When asked, the crown prince explained, "When I died, the official of the underworld scolded me, saying, 'You were meant to be executed, not to take your own life. Go back and accept your rightful punishment.' I asked why, and he showed me the book of life and death, saying, 'You took someone's life in a past incarnation, and now you must repay it.'" Knowing that everything was prearranged, the crown prince faced his execution calmly. This illustrates that when a person is born, and when they will die, is indeed predestined. Good deeds or evil acts from past lives inevitably come to fruition. Wealth and honor come from heaven. During Emperor Taizong's reign of the Tang dynasty, Chang Baotong was a military commander who often traveled to Luoyang when he wasn't required at court. One day, on the road, he met a young hunter roasting fresh meat. Leaning against a tree, Chang sighed, "I am 70 years old and have never tasted such delicious roasted meat. How regrettable." Just then, a monk passing by overheard and said, "Within 60 days, you will be promoted to a third-rank official. Why do you lament?" Then the monk quickly disappeared. Astonished, Chang returned immediately to the capital instead of continuing his journey. Coincidentally, Emperor Taizong was suffering severely from dysentery. Court physicians had failed to cure him, prompting the emperor to announce a generous reward for whoever could provide an effective cure. Chang Baotong, who had once suffered the same illness, knew a remedy and promptly presented it to the emperor. Emperor Taizong quickly recovered and ordered the chancellor to reward Chang with a fifth-rank official position. However, the chancellor delayed implementing this order. Soon after, the emperor relapsed. He used Chang's remedy again and recovered once more. Angered by the delay, Emperor Taizong confronted the chancellor, who replied, "Your Majesty did not specify whether Chang should be granted a civil or military position." Hearing that previously someone who cured the chancellor's illness was granted a third-rank position, the emperor declared, "Am I, the emperor, less generous than my chancellor? Chang Baotong will become a third-rank civil official immediately." This occurred exactly 60 days after the monk's prediction. This event reinforced the belief that not only life and death, but even wealth and honor are determined by fate. What destiny intends will happen precisely when it should. If something is not predestined, no effort can force it. If it is not destined, you cannot force it. Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang, founder of the Ming Dynasty, 1328-1398, once traveled incognito to the countryside. Accustomed to royal luxury, he soon felt hot and thirsty. A local farmer kindly offered him a cup of tea, which tasted like fine wine to the emperor. Upon returning to the palace, Zhu immediately rewarded the farmer by granting him a minor official position. A scholar, learning of this, felt deeply aggrieved. On a local temple wall, he wrote, 10 years of bitter study is not equal to a single cup of tea. Years later, Emperor Zhu returned to the same place and noticed the inscription. After learning the context, he added 2 lines beneath. His talent is not as great as yours, but your destiny is not as favorable as his. Life is often unfair. Power, wealth, intelligence, beauty, opportunities, and misfortunes differ greatly among people. Yet, the principle of karma reveals absolute fairness. Everyone ultimately reaps the results of their actions. Wealth and poverty continuously shift according to karma, so there's no reason to blame heaven for injustice. In reality, when ancient sages spoke about predestination, they didn't mean we should passively drift through life. If we neglect our responsibilities, act lazily, or commit wrongdoing, fate will change accordingly. Instead, we should always pursue goodness and avoid evil, as that aligns with the natural order. Understanding destiny helps us calmly accept life's arrangements. By doing so, we avoid distress over gains or losses, remain true to our morals, and live with generosity, achieving genuine peace and freedom. Story 2. Everything in the world has a predestined fate. Long ago, there was an old woman with a very unique ability. She could connect with the spirit world. People around her saw her as a fortune teller, often asking her about past lives and what lay ahead in future ones. One day, a group of concubines belonging to a wealthy man happened to meet her on the street. They asked her, "We are all concubines in another person's household. What caused this fate?" The old woman replied, "According to the laws of the underworld, small deeds, whether good or evil, can be repaid or compensated. But acts of great virtue or great evil cannot be undone. In your past lives, each of you accumulated some small good karma. That's why you were born into wealthy households in this life. But you also carried some bad karma, which is why your lives are incomplete and why you face troubles even in that luxurious house. If you continue to do good in this life, you can repay the evil from before. As your good karma grows, your next life will be more complete and perfect. But if you add more evil deeds now, your good karma will decrease, and bad karma will increase. Your next life could be filled with suffering." Doing good doesn't mean merely burning incense or praying to the Buddha. It means being respectful and obedient to elders, honoring the primary wife, and helping create harmony in the household. That's true virtue. One of the women asked again, "What about having children? Is that already fated too? Could you please look into it for me? If the records of the underworld say I won't have children, I'll stop hoping for it." The old woman replied, "There's no need to investigate. If you consistently perform acts of kindness that bring blessings of sons, then even if the records say you won't have a son, fate can still be changed. But if you do evil, even if the record says you will have a son, It can be altered so that you don't. Fate is not fixed if your actions can transform it. There was a young man in the village, always serious and upright. He despised fortune tellers, but strangely, he respected this old woman deeply. He would often visit her to talk for long periods. He once said, "I don't know whether what she says is true or not, but one thing is clear. She's never asked for a single coin in return. That's rare and admirable." The chess game and literary fate were already written. If the major events of life are predestined, then surely the small things are too. Even the moves in a game of chess, or the process of writing an essay, where you erase some words and rewrite others, and how the final piece looks, all of that too might already be decided. Consider this first example. In the past, two chess masters were playing a match. A third person sat apart, drawing a diagram to record the match's progression. He finished the map and placed it in a sealed box. When the game was over, the two players opened the box, and to their shock, the recorded steps matched their moves exactly, down to the last one. Here's another story. During the Kaiyuan reign of the Tang dynasty, a man named Wang was reading the destiny of another man, Li Gui. Wang handed Li Gui a sealed letter and said, "When you're appointed as assistant minister, open this letter." Years later, Li Gui was recommended for an official position. The emperor ordered court ministers to test his writing. The exam had 3 parts. A prose piece titled "The Purple Silk Bag Carrying Divine Nectar," a diplomatic letter replying to a foreign tribe, a memorial to the throne offering the emperor a white peacock on behalf of southern Vietnam. Li Gui sat down and wrote steadily from 11 a.m. until 7 p.m. He completed all 3 writings. Along the way, he erased and rewrote 8 characters and added 2 side notes. He was soon appointed assistant minister, just as foretold. A few days later, he opened Wang's letter. Inside were the exact same 3 writings, word for word, down to the same corrections and side notes. The accuracy was uncanny. To most people, such a thing is beyond comprehension. But those who can see into the future know nothing escapes destiny. Story 3. Is our life predetermined? The ancients used to say, life and death are fated. Wealth and honor come from heaven. Everything in this universe, when born, has its destiny. This doesn't just apply to people. It applies to all things. Take the story of Song Mao-cheng, 1570 to 1622, whose courtesy name was Yu Qing. He was a writer and numerologist of the Ming dynasty, born in Huating, Songjiang, now part of modern-day Shanghai. He was well versed in fate and the art of divination. From the way his predictions came true for his family and friends, especially his son and closest companions, one might say, yes, human life is indeed fated. Riches and rank lie in heaven's hands. Fate foretold for himself. After helping arrange funeral matters for his friend Bai Xiaolian, Song Mao-cheng returned home and told his wife, "Bai's funeral is taken care of. I too will leave this world next March." And just as he predicted, he passed away the following March. After his death, he left behind the collection of essential prescriptions, a work later preserved and shared by generations to come. It's a reminder, we are but tiny specks of dust in this vast universe, From birth to death, nothing escapes fate. Life is as fleeting as moonlight passing through a window. Whether our path brings us joy or sorrow, honor or disgrace, all we can do is accept it with grace and live a clear, honest life. Fate foretold for his son Song, Mao Cheng had difficulty having children. Not until the age of 49 did he finally have a son, whom he named Song Zhengyu, 1617 to 1667, styled Zhifeng. Zhengyu passed the first level of imperial exams during the Ming Dynasty, and during the Qing, he became a successful scholar. In the 4th year of the Shunji reign, he earned the top degree and was appointed Vice Censor-in-Chief, a third-rank official. When Zhengyu was born, his father calculated his fate and sealed the result in an envelope, which he gave to his wife with instructions. Only open this after our son passes the imperial exams. 5 years later, Song Mocheng died. At age 30, in the 4th year of Shunji, Song Zhengyu passed the top exam. His family opened the letter. Inside it read, "This child will serve the new dynasty after age 30. He will attain third-rank office. He will live to be 50. Indeed, in the year Kangxi Bingwu, Song Zhengyu was promoted to Vice Censor-in-Chief. By the end of the following year, Dingwei, he passed away, exactly at age 50. Fate foretold for a friend. Song Mocheng had a childhood friend named Bai Xiaolian from Huainan, who was a scholar under both the Ming and Qing, and skilled in numerology as well. One morning, after waking, Song Mocheng said to his wife, "This September, my friend Bai in Huainan will pass away. He has no son. I must go see him one last time and help arrange his funeral." As the day neared, Song traveled by boat to Huainan. Bai was already waiting outside the door with a warm smile. "I knew you would come today to bid me farewell," he said. The two sat together, reminiscing and sharing their thoughts. Just as predicted, a few days later, in the 9th month, Bai Xiaolian passed away peacefully, without illness. Story 4. The Monk Who Read Faces. The ancients saw the future in a man's features. In ancient history, especially in the days of dynasties long gone, there were many who mastered the art of physiognomy, the ability to read a person's face and foresee their fate with startling precision. The face-reading powers of Master Yuan. During the Tang Dynasty, there lived a sage of metaphysical science named Yuan Tiangang, who was widely regarded as China's greatest feng shui master. He had a son, Yuan Keishou, who inherited his father's talents and dedicated his life to reading faces and predicting destinies. Yuan Keishou's predictions were incredibly accurate, so much so that people from all walks of life came to consult him. During the Xianqing era of Emperor Gaozong's reign, Yuan Keishou's mastery in both physiognomy and classical literature earned him a position at court, where he served and advised the emperor. One day, Emperor Gaozong placed a mouse inside a silver box and asked several officials and fortune tellers to guess what was inside. Most of them answered that it was a mouse, but Yuan Keishou responded differently. "Yes, it's a mouse, but when your majesty placed it in the box, there was only one. When you open it, there will be 4. The emperor opened the box, and sure enough, there were 4 mice. The original mouse had given birth to 3 pups while inside, making a total of 4. Reading the faces of travelers later, Yuan Kisho was traveling by boat with a scholar. Before they boarded, he observed the faces of everyone about to get on. Then he quietly told his companion, "Let's not board just yet." Confused, the scholar asked why. Yuan whispered, "I see a dark shadow beneath the noses of all these passengers. It means calamity is near. Since we already know this, there's no reason to tempt fate." So they stepped back onto shore. Not long after, a man of noble bearing, despite having a lame leg, hurried over with his luggage and led a donkey up onto the boat. Yuan watched this and said, "Now we can board. A man of great virtue is with them. We'll be safe." They boarded and departed. Soon, storm winds howled and waves surged violently. Everyone was terrified, yet in the end, the boat crossed safely. Curious, Yuan asked about the man who brought the donkey. It turned out to be Lu Shaid, who later became the imperial secretary and eventually the prime minister, one of the top 3 officials governing the entire Tang court. Yuan Kishu's gift was undeniable. Not only could he foresee disaster in the faces of strangers, he could also recognize a person of grand destiny and great moral character, one whose mere presence could avert catastrophe. Yuan Tiangong's early predictions in Luoyang. There's another story, this time about Yuan Tiangong himself, while he was living in Luoyang. After settling into his new home, his residence was always full of visitors, high-ranking officials, scholars, and public figures from every corner of society. 3 notable men, Du Yan, Wang Kui, and Wei Ding, once visited him for face readings. Yuan first looked at Du Yan. "The left side of your nose is full and distinct. Your face is open and generous. Good sense." Then he turned to Wang Kui. "The lines running from your nostrils to the corners of your mouth are long and clear. Also, the top of your head and the base of your chin are aligned perfectly. I predict you'll reach a 5th rank official post within 10 years. Finally, he looked at Wei Ding. "Your face is defined, with clear angles and features. You'll have the help of noble patrons. You'll start as a military officer." Then Yuan Tiangong spoke to all 3. 20 years from now, I fear the 3 of you will be demoted or punished, but it will only be temporary. You'll all be reinstated soon after." Time passed. Du Yan rose to become imperial censor and later he held military command in the Heavenly Strategy Bureau. Wang Kui was appointed a senior assistant to the crown prince. Wei Ding was recommended by Li Shimin near the end of the Sui dynasty. But just as Yuan predicted, in the 6th year of the Wu era, all 3 were exiled to Xuanzhou. As they passed through Yizhu, they once again met Yuan Tiangong. Du Yan, overcome with emotion, cried out, "Everything you said back in Luoyang came true, just like prophecy. Please, look at us again now." Yuan examined them and said, "Your destinies are even stronger than before. You'll soon be recalled. You're destined for greatness." And he was right. In the 6th month of Wu Year 9, all 3 were summoned back to the capital. Passing through Yizhu once more, they visited Yuan again. Yuan said, "Du Yan, when you return to the capital, you'll be granted a 3rd rank position. I cannot see your lifespan clearly. Wang Kui and Wei Ding will also reach 3rd rank posts and enjoy long lives, but toward old age, their careers won't advance further. Wei Ding will have a slightly more prominent fate. Indeed, Du Yin became imperial grand censor and a senior official overseeing ministries. Wang Kui was promoted to palace attendant and governor of Dongzhou. Wei Ding held governorship of Mengzhou for years and even died while still in office. Everything unfolded exactly as Yuan had predicted. These events led many to wonder, is human fate truly predetermined? Story 5. The Power of Stillness. Once, during a time of unrest, a wealthy man chose to convert all his possessions into silver certificates, paper notes representing his entire fortune. For safety, he carefully crafted an oil paper umbrella and hid the notes inside the handle. Disguising himself as a common man, he set off for the countryside to live in hiding. But on the way, something unexpected happened. Exhausted, he stopped to rest in a small roadside hut. When he woke, the umbrella was gone. Yet the man, having weathered years of business dealings, did not panic. He stayed calm and observed that his bag and everything else he owned were untouched. This made him suspect the umbrella wasn't stolen by a professional thief, but rather picked up by a passerby, likely someone local who had no idea what was hidden inside. So he made a decision: stay in the area. He bought a few tools for repairing umbrellas and waited patiently. Spring turned to autumn. Then 1 year became 2. He slowly adapted to local life and nearly forgot about the umbrella entirely. One day, while repairing umbrellas for locals, he noticed a pattern. People only bought new ones when their old ones were too worn out. That gave him an idea. He put up a sign offering to exchange new umbrellas for old ones at a very cheap price. Soon, people came in droves. One afternoon, a middle-aged man brought in a worn, ragged, oil paper umbrella. The wealthy man kept a calm face, handed over a new one in exchange, and said nothing. The man walked away. The wealthy man stepped back into his house and vanished from public view ever since. Wisdom in stillness. This man's quiet patience was not merely about waiting, it was an act of wisdom, a wisdom born from inner calm and clear thought. Story 6. Master Sun Simiao uses face reading to save his son. A fortune teller foresees the life of a prime minister. A person's face holds many secrets. To those trained in the art of physiognomy, the lines, shapes, and colors of one's features reveal incredible insights, sometimes even the whole path of a person's future. This story is about 2 men. One was Sun Simiao, the legendary physician later revered as the king of medicine. The other was a fortune teller whose predictions about the future Prime Minister Wei Yuanzhong proved eerily accurate. Sun Simiao foresees a beating and saves his son from it. Sun Simiao, who lived to be over 100 years old, was not only a master of medicine, but also deeply skilled in the art of face reading. Once he spoke with a government official named Gao Zhongshu. "You," he said, "have the face of a nobleman. Within a few years, you'll become a governor. If you are assigned to Qi Prefecture, my son will serve under you as a judicial officer." Then Sun Simiao's voice grew serious. "There will come a time when my son makes a mistake and is sentenced to be caned. Though the punishment is deserved, I hope that in that moment, you'll remember the words of an old man nearing the end of his life and choose to spare him." Years later, exactly as foretold, Sun's son committed an offense while serving under Gao Zhongshu. His clothes were stripped, and he was just about to receive the harsh punishment. Suddenly, Gao Zhongshu remembered the old doctor's words and chose to pardon the boy. The prediction had come true. The fortune teller who saw a prime minister's future. During the reign of Empress Wu Zetian, two officials, Wei Yuanzhong, who would become prime minister, and Zheng Yuanzhong, minister of rights, were both born in Song City, now part of modern-day Shangqiu, Henan. The two had known each other since childhood and were close friends. Around the age of 30, both began to draw attention for their intelligence and character. There was a fortune teller at that time who treated them with unusual respect. Whenever he saw them, he greeted them with utmost reverence. One day, he turned to Wei Yuanzhong and said, "Have you heard the saying, like attracts like? I tell you this, you will rise to the highest position a servant of the empire can attain. Your name will be remembered with honor. You are loyal, upright, sincere, and will never be swayed by corruption. You will become a pillar of the nation. However," he added, "though your face bears the marks of nobility, your fate will be rough. You'll experience many hardships, but only after becoming prime minister. So there's no need to worry. When the time comes, face every trial with action and conviction." Then he turned to Zheng Yuanzhong. "You, sir, are destined to hold a purple belt and a golden seal. You have a long life ahead, blessed and honored. You'll rise smoothly into the top 3 ranks and become one of 8 key advisors in court. Your career will be steady and undiminished." Wei Wenzhong asked, "When will my career begin? When will I receive my first official salary?" The fortune teller replied, "If you submit a memorial to the emperor this year, your fortunes will begin." So Wei traveled to the capital and submitted a petition. But time passed, and no word came from the palace. Worse yet, he ran out of money and had no choice but to return home. On the road, he met an acquaintance who gifted him fine silk and cloth. With this help, Wei turned back toward the capital. As luck, or fate, would have it, the imperial decree was issued just then. He was summoned to court and given the position of imperial secretary, later promoted to senior grand counselor. But his trials were only beginning. Because he offended powerful officials and crossed the emperor's will, he was demoted, investigated, even imprisoned. Many times he considered suicide, but each time he remembered the fortune teller's words and endured. Despite his sufferings, he never lost his sense of purpose. He spoke boldly against corruption and injustice, never softening his words. And in the end, just as predicted, he was exonerated and once again rose to high office. His career continued with a series of ups and downs. At one point, he was reappointed as Protector General, only to be demoted to Governor of Nan County. Later, while traveling for inspection, he fell ill. In quiet reflection, he said, "Will I die here?" And indeed, he passed away in that very place. As for Zheng Yuanzhong, his life and career also followed the fortune teller's exact prophecy. He rose to high rank, never demoted, and lived a long, honorable life. Story 7. What is true happiness, and where can it be found? Long ago, a king of a powerful nation lived in a grand palace of marble halls and golden pillars. His meals were served on golden plates, his chambers decorated with silver, jade, and jewels. But even with all that splendor, he felt empty, lonely, disconnected from the people and joyless among the courtiers and concubines who flattered him daily. One day, tired of palace life, He disguised himself as a merchant and set off in secret to visit the countryside. In one humble village, the joyful singing of a man caught his attention. It was a farmer, tilling his fields while humming cheerfully. The king asked, "Why are you so happy?" The farmer smiled. "Every day I work this land. It changes with the seasons. When harvest comes, we'll have enough rice for the whole year. What's not to be happy about?" The king couldn't understand. How could a man live with so little, just food from a field, and be joyful every day? Meanwhile, he had a kingdom, servants, banquets, every pleasure imaginable, yet felt only boredom and sorrow. He returned to his palace and asked his ministers for answers, but none satisfied him. The prime minister then suggested a solution. There is a wise monk atop the northern mountain. He understands the truth of all things. Perhaps he can help. So the king went to see the monk and explained his confusion. The monk asked, "You envy the farmer's joy, but if you were to trade lives with him, become a farmer, would you feel happy?" The king shook his head. "Of course not." "Then," the monk said, "if the farmer became king, would he feel happy?" The king paused. "Probably not. He lacks the wisdom and discipline to rule." The monk asked again, "If that farmer found a bag of gold coins, would he be happy?" "Absolutely," the king said. "Who wouldn't be?" The monk smiled. "Then place 99 gold coins in a bag and leave it in his field. You will have your answer." The king followed the advice. The next day the farmer found the bag and shouted with joy, abandoning his plow and running home. "I'm rich." The king reported this to the monk, who replied, "Now hide behind the bushes each day and observe." And so the king watched. The farmer no longer sang. He no longer smiled. He spent every moment scouring the field, muttering, "There must be one more coin. No one leaves just 99. Day after day, he searched obsessively. His face grew gaunt. His eyes darkened. His joy vanished. The king returned to the monk, confused. The monk said, "Now leave one more coin by the field, beneath a rock. Watch again." The next day, the farmer tripped over the rock and found the last coin. He cried out in delight, forgot his pain, and danced back home. But the monk cautioned, "That's only the beginning." Sure enough, a few days later, the farmer was back at it, digging, muttering, "If there were a bag and now a coin, then surely there's a whole treasure chest." He dug deeper and deeper. He spent all 100 coins. His fields were ruined. He toiled endlessly and never found any treasure. The king was baffled. He went back once more to the monk. The monk gently explained, "The farmer was happy before because he was content, but the gold awakened desire. Once he knew wealth, he could no longer return to simplicity. Your Majesty, you are unhappy because you have already tasted every glory this world offers. Power, praise, pleasure, you've had them all. There's nothing left to stir your joy. To find peace," the monk continued, "you must go beyond worldly desire. Seek happiness in the quiet stillness of the soul. Serve your people. Nurture the land. Let that be your new joy. Return here in 3 years." 3 years later, the king did. The farmer's field had become a lotus pond. its flowers gently perfuming the air. A humble hut stood nearby. From within came the soft murmur of poetry and the sound of scriptures being read aloud. And far away, in the deep forest, a tall, radiant young monk with calm eyes and a serene smile was listening carefully as the wise elder continued his teachings. Story 8. When parting ways, don't speak harsh words. The ancients had a saying, when gentlemen part ways, they do not speak bitter words. In classical Chinese, Quan tu tuit yao, but swat ak tun. It means that even when people sever ties, those with dignity and character refrain from insults or slander. In the records of the Grand Historian, there's a story from the Warring States period about General Yue Yi, a brilliant military commander. He served under King Zhao of Yan and led a victorious campaign against the state of Qi. After King Zhao died, his successor, King Hui of Yan, ascended the throne. Unlike his predecessor, King Hui disliked Yue Yi. Meanwhile, the state of Qi launched a deceptive counter-strategy. Suspicious and insecure, King Hui stripped Yue Yi of his military command. Fearing for his life, Yue Yi fled to the state of Zhao. Soon after, Yan's army suffered a crushing defeat. King Hui sent a scathing letter to Yue Yi, blaming him for the loss. Yue Yi replied, "Though we no longer walk the same path, a gentleman does not speak ill of others. A loyal subject who leaves his country should not tarnish the name of his king." Even when wronged and forced into exile, Yue Yi upheld his honor and refrained from speaking harshly of the ruler who betrayed him. The lesson is simple, yet profound. When cutting ties with someone, whether they are good, bad, or somewhere in between, it's best to preserve your own dignity. Speaking with malice only adds bitterness and burns the bridges behind you. Often, the more harshly we speak, the more we cut off our own path of return. If someone truly lacks character, and you wish to protect others from them, then speak with honest caution, not vindictive words. Let virtue and justice speak louder than vengeance. Arguing with people of poor values is pointless. You and they live in different worlds. Even if you feel wronged, refrain from degrading speech, not to protect their pride, but to protect your own. That way, you preserve your grace, your character, and in time, others will respect you not for retaliation, but for your restraint. Rather than dwelling on betrayal or the cruelty of others, build your own honor from the ground up. Choose your friends by virtue, not by wine and flattery. True relationships are built on trust, refined by time. Any lasting connection is ultimately forged by fate, but must be supported by shared values, worldviews, life views, and moral principles. Without those, true understanding is impossible, and so is harmony. So if you already see that you and another are incompatible, it's better never to begin the relationship at all. Story 9. The wicked may frighten people, but never heaven. The world has its fair share of small-minded people, the schemers, the backstabbers, the envious. They're a part of nature, born under the same sky as the rest of us. You can't make them vanish, no matter how hard you try. So what should we do? Should we fight them to the end? Should we out-scheme the schemers? Of course not. That's not wisdom, it's just mutual destruction. Some people joke, if a dog bites you, you don't bite back. The point is clear. Don't stoop to their level. When you're the target of deceit or cruelty, The worst thing you can do is become deceitful or cruel yourself. If you respond in kind, how can anyone tell you apart from those you condemn? There's an old proverb: the virtuous don't fight with the petty. Evil people will be dealt with by others like them. No matter how clever a villain is, they can't escape the hand of karma, the reach of law, or the judgment of conscience. Every flaw has its counterforce. No matter how dark the deed, consequences always follow. Everything in this world moves in cycles of cause and effect. 2 monks and the wisdom of endurance. In ancient times, there were 2 high monks, Han Shan and Shide. Han Shan lived among common people and often endured mockery, abuse, and harsh treatment from others. One day, frustrated, he asked Shidi, "There are people who slander me, insult me, humiliate me, laugh at me, look down on me, scorn me, deceive me. What should I do?" Shide replied calmly, "Just endure them. Avoid them. Forgive them. Ignore them. Be respectful. Do not retaliate. Wait and watch." In time, he said, those people would reveal their own downfall. Whatever we do in life, we must believe this one thing: unrighteous deeds eventually destroy their own doer. Do enough evil, and it becomes visible to all. The mask always falls. Instead of wasting your life entangled in fights with the petty and the malicious, learn to resolve things with compassion. Preserve your spirit. Don't let small minds shrink your great life. Story 10. What kind of person has a deep and unfathomable mind? We all experience emotions: joy, sorrow, anger. But not everyone expresses them the same way. Some wear their hearts on their sleeves, while others guard their emotions carefully. A person whose face remains calm, regardless of joy or rage, is often someone of deep and impenetrable mind. These individuals maintain emotional stability. They don't easily let others see into their inner world. Even under pressure or humiliation, they maintain composure. They speak less, observe more, and never act impulsively. Sima Yi, the master of restraint. During the Three Kingdoms period, Sima Yi was a man of extraordinary patience. He never revealed his emotions. Whether he was insulted, mocked, or even humiliated by being forced to wear women's clothing, he remained silent. When made to feed horses, a degrading task for a high-ranking strategist, he bore it without complaint. For 10 long years, Sima Yi endured, serving loyally under several emperors of the Cao Wei dynasty. Then, when the young emperor ascended the throne, Sima Yi acted. With a single strategic move, he seized control of the entire court. Such people, calm, calculating, hidden in shadow, are deeply formidable. You never know what they're thinking, but they see right through you. To determine if someone is worth forming a true bond with, watch how they act when they're angry. Anger often reveals a person's boundaries, their values, and their true nature. But if someone never reveals those things, never gets angry, never takes a side, be cautious. They may only be suitable for polite, surface-level interaction, not for true connection. These people are sharp, calculated, and careful. They rarely express opinions. They present as fair and neutral. They offend no one, but truly open up to no one either. The elegance of Xue Baochai. In Dream of the Red Chamber, Shui Baochai is such a character. Unlike the more outspoken Lin Dai Yu, Baochai is gentle, poised, and always in control. The servant girls loved her. She never looked down on anyone. When the matriarch asked her favorite food, Baochai answered by naming the matriarch's own favorite dish. When a servant girl lost her golden bracelet, Baochai discreetly donated some of her own clothes. She treated everyone kindly, but deep down, she was always calculating. She never spoke on matters that didn't concern her. She never criticized things she disliked. There's no denying her skill, her ability to smooth things over, to say the right thing to the right person at the right time. Yet those close to her found it hard to truly know her. She adapted her tone, her words, even her stance depending on who she was with. You never knew what was sincere and what was strategic. That's why, with people like Baochai, one must keep a healthy distance. Be polite, but cautious. The patient rise of King Zhuang of Chu during the spring and autumn period, the state of Chu fell into chaos. Internal rebellion, external threats. While all this went on, King Zhuang appeared weak and distracted. For 3 years, he indulged in women and pleasures, and never once held court. One of his ministers, Wu Ju, finally protested. He told the king the story of a strange bird in the mountains that hadn't sung a note or taken flight in 3 years. King Zhuang smiled and answered, "That bird may not sing or fly often, but when it does, it soars into the heavens and sings a song that shakes the earth." Wu Ju then understood the king wasn't lazy. He was waiting, observing, testing loyalty, identifying allies. When the time came, King Zhuang shed his disguise. He dismissed his concubines, took back power, and appointed strong ministers like Wu Ju and Suzong. Despite famine and invasion, he strengthened the military and restored the court's authority. His years of silence weren't wasted. They were a time of preparation. True patience isn't idleness. To remain quiet is only worthwhile if, in the end, you have something worth saying. The deeper a person's endurance, the greater their hidden strength. But because such people are unreadable, always keep a respectful distance. Some people can be close friends. Some are best left with a nod and a smile. Others, you should stay far away. Story 11. Resolve grudges. Don't multiply them. When conflicts arise, it's easy to get swept up in anger, but the wise know grudges are better resolved than carried. No story shows this better than that of Tran Quoc Tuan, also known as Hung Dao Vung, a national hero of Vietnam. He led his people to victory 3 times against the Mongol invasions, helping preserve the Tran dynasty. But to do so, he had to make a deeply personal sacrifice. The family grudge. Years earlier, his father Tran Lu had been forced by Grand Chancellor Tran Thu Do to give up his wife, Princess Thuan Tin, to his younger brother, King Tran Tai Tung. At the time, she was already 3 months pregnant. It was a devastating betrayal. On his deathbed, Tran Lu made his son swear to take revenge. "If you don't take the throne for me, I will never rest in peace." Tran Quoc Tuan nodded, but in his heart, he knew revenge was not the way. He had power, influence, and the loyalty of the military. He could have seized the throne, but he didn't. He chose country over blood feud. Moments of temptation. One day, walking with Emperor Tran Nun Tung, Tun carried a sharp iron staff. The emperor's attendants grew nervous. Sensing their unease, Tun snapped the staff in two, showing he bore no threat. Another time, he asked his son, Tran Teng, what he would do with such a family grudge. Tang suggested they seize the throne, like Emperor Taizu of Song, who rose from farmer to emperor. Tuan exploded in rage. You traitorous child! Disloyalty is born from the son of a traitor. He drew his sword, ready to kill his own son, only relenting after his family begged for mercy. Reconciliation and wisdom, even with Tran Quang Kai, his cousin and one-time rival, Tuan sought reconciliation. Knowing Quang Kai hated bathing, Tuan once joked, "You're filthy. Let me give you a proper bath." He personally washed his cousin in fragrant water. Quang Kai, surprised and moved, replied, "Today, the Duke himself washes me. I am honored." From that day on, their feud was over. Revenge doesn't end cycles. It fuels them. There's an old saying, a gentleman can wait 10 years to repay a grudge. But Tran Tuan understood something deeper. Revenge only leads to more revenge. If he had struck, the dynasty would have splintered. Vietnam would have fallen, its people crushed beneath the Mongol horde. So he chose peace over pride, country over self. The wisdom of letting go. Another great figure, Tang Dynasty painter and poet Dongfang Shuo, wrote, "All things come by heaven's will. Why struggle with schemes? Eat well, live simply. Even a cool breeze brings contentment. If you create trouble, when will it end? If you harm others, when will harm stop returning? Better to let go of grudges than deepen them. Each person must reflect on their own heart. Sometimes someone treats you badly for reasons you don't understand. But what if that pain is the karmic debt from a past life? Rather than escalate the feud, rather than demand payback, perhaps the wiser path is to release it. Because feuds never end unless someone chooses to stop. Only then can peace truly begin." Story 12. A single good deed healed a lifetime of illness. During the Qing Dynasty, in the Eastern Gate district of Wuxi County, an old man known by everyone as Mr. Choke lived near Kuaibao Bridge. He'd suffered for years from a severe throat condition that made it hard to swallow or speak, hence the nickname. One day, on his way to a tea shop, Mr. Choke noticed a cloth bag lying on the side of the road. Curious, he picked it up and opened it. Inside was a trove of gold, silver, and precious jewels. He thought to himself, "I'm an old man near death. What use do I have for treasure now?" So instead of taking it home, he sat down right there and waited, hoping the rightful owner would return to look for it. Sure enough, after some time, an elderly woman came rushing down the road. Her face was panicked, her eyes darting in every direction. She was crying. Mr. Choke called out to her, asked what she was looking for, and after confirming the bag was hers, he handed it back. The woman burst into tears of gratitude, bowed in thanks, and hurried off. On his way home, Mr. Choke suddenly felt a sharp pain in his chest. He coughed violently until a hard lump of phlegm, like dried bark, came out of his throat. From that moment forward, his illness was completely gone. Not only did he recover, but he went on to live a long and healthy life. A single thought of kindness moves heaven and earth. That moment of selfless virtue had touched the cosmos itself. This is exactly what the Buddha teaches. Good deeds bring blessings. Evil deeds bring consequences. Story 13. Lessons from the birds of the sky and the lilies of the field. Over 2,000 years ago, Jesus Christ taught his disciples a lesson on trust and simplicity. Do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink. Do not worry about your body, what you will wear. Is life not more than food and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the sky. They neither sow nor reap nor store in barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not more valuable than they? Who among you, by worrying, can add even 1 hour to his life? He continued, Consider the lilies of the field. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you, even King Solomon, in all his splendor, was not dressed like one of these. If God so clothes the flowers, here today and burned tomorrow, will he not care even more for you, O you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, What shall we eat? Or, what shall we wear? For the pagans run after these things, but your heavenly Father knows you need them. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Do not worry about tomorrow. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Story 14. The power of compassion to redeem a life. During the late Qing dynasty, there lived a respected old gentleman known for his virtue and wealth. One New Year's Eve, as he walked through his garden on the way to a banquet, 2 servants walked ahead holding lanterns. Suddenly, he glanced upward and saw a figure hiding in a tree. He paused. Telling his servants to leave the lanterns behind, he returned inside to fetch a plate of food and wine. Then, making an excuse, he sent the servants elsewhere. He spoke softly toward the tree. Dear guest above, we are alone now. Please come down. Startled, the man in the tree slowly climbed down, trembling. He dropped to his knees in apology. The old man looked closer and recognized him as a neighbor. Instead of scolding, he invited the man to join him for a meal and gently asked why he had been hiding. With tears in his eyes, the man confessed, I have an aging mother. This year, the harvest failed. We have nothing for the new year. I was desperate. I thought of your wealth and acted out of shame and hunger. You've spared me already. I dare not ask for anything more. The old man replied, This is my failure, not yours. If I had taken better care of my neighbors, you wouldn't be driven to such a thing. He gave the man a warm meal, 30 taels of silver, and enough food for his family. He added, Use this to start a small trade after the new year. Don't ever do this again. If it had been someone else, you might not have been so lucky. Worse yet, if you were caught, your mother would suffer too. Before the man left, the old man packed more food and personally led him to the wall. Take this for your mother. Go back the same way. And don't worry, I won't tell a soul. Years later, the young man turned his life around. He cared for his mother until her passing, then ordained as a monk, living a life of simplicity and virtue. Eventually, he became the abbot of Lingyan Temple by Westlake. When the old man passed away, the former thief returned, now a venerable monk, to pay his respects. Only then did he share the story of the man who had once saved him from a life of crime. This is the power of true compassion, to rescue a soul from darkness and guide them toward the light. Story 15. The Brahmin's Lost Ox. In the time of Jesus, a great spiritual teacher was also walking the earth in the East, the Buddha, Shakyamuni. One day the Buddha sat in meditation with his disciples beneath a Bodhi tree. A man, a Brahmin, out of breath and panicked, ran toward them. "Venerable Gautama," he cried, "have you seen a large ox pass through here? I've lost it." The Buddha replied gently, "We've been sitting here in meditation. I'm sorry. We haven't seen any ox." The man hurried away, still anxious, his mind tangled in fear. After a pause, the Buddha turned to his disciples and asked, "Why was that man so worried and afraid?" They answered, "Because he lost something valuable, a possession that mattered deeply to him." Then the Buddha smiled and asked, "Do any of you have an ox to lose?" The monks all shook their heads. "No, Master, we have no such burden." The Buddha nodded. "That is why you are peaceful, because you have nothing to lose. Money, fame, love, they are all like oxen," the Buddha said. "We chase them, worry over them, lose sleep because of them, and when one is lost, our world collapses. It is not the possessions themselves that hurt us, but the attachment to them. Desire brings suffering. Desire brings fear. The one who frees himself from desire frees himself from suffering. We all seek comfort, security, recognition. But when the seeking becomes obsession, the heart fills not with joy, but with fear of loss. So ask yourself today, what is your ox? What are you so afraid of losing? And what if, just for a moment, you let go? Could you sit under your own tree like a monk or a bird or a wildflower and just be? Story 16. Be like cat phone, a legacy of virtue. During the reign of Emperor Huizong of the Song dynasty, a young scholar wandered through the capital and saw a pair of shoes in a shop. His heart trembled. They looked exactly like the shoes his father had worn the day he disappeared. He asked the shopkeeper, who replied, "A man dropped them off for repairs yesterday. He should be back soon." So the scholar waited outside. Before long, a man on horseback came to retrieve the shoes. The scholar's eyes widened. It was his father. As the man took the shoes and turned to leave, the scholar chased after him, calling out through tears, "Father, how could you abandon me without a word?" The man looked back and calmly replied, "To be a man, you must be like Cat Phone." "Who is Cat Phone?" the scholar asked. But the father had already galloped away. Later, he would understand. Correcting mistakes. A mark of true nobility. Confucius taught that making a mistake is human, but failing to correct it is the real error. As the Analects put it, to err and not correct, that is the true mistake. Even noble people are not free from faults, but they are like a solar eclipse, visible to all, yet when they correct themselves, their honor is restored. Confucius's student Zilu once said, "It brings me joy when people point out my flaws. Only those brave enough to face their shortcomings can grow in virtue and wisdom." The humility of Emperor Taizong. In the 5th year of his reign, Tang Emperor Taizong summoned his ministers, including Chancellor Zhengsun Wuji, and said, "A wise ruler inspires his officials to speak freely. No one can see themselves clearly. Tell me my strengths and my flaws." Zhengsun replied with cautious praise, "Your Majesty's military skill, virtue, and judgment are unmatched. Every policy benefits the nation and the people. As your servant, I have seen no faults." Taizong frowned. "I don't want flattery. I want truth. I want to openly discuss your strengths and my weaknesses, so we all may learn. This humility, welcoming critique rather than resisting it, was one of the reasons the Tang dynasty became the most prosperous in Chinese history. Emperor Taizong's habit of asking, listening, and adjusting ensured that each official was placed where their talents were most effective. Under such leadership, the empire flourished. Story 17. How to avoid misfortune. Enduring for the greater good. In life, wins and losses are often already written by fate. So why fight over every inch? Sometimes, restraint is not weakness, but wisdom. It can turn a disaster into a small incident, and a small incident into nothing at all. History offers many examples. Gujian, king of Yue, slept on firewood and tasted bile for years before reclaiming his kingdom. Han Xin, the great general, endured humiliation by crawling between a butcher's legs, only to later command armies. These moments of restraint paved the way for greatness. 1. The beaten official who endured. After the state of Qin destroyed Wei, Qin Shi Huang heard of two great talents, Zhang Er and Chen Yu. He rewarded Zhang Er with 1,000 taels of gold and Chen Yu with 500. The two fled to Chen County, living modestly as gatekeepers. One day, a petty official, over a trivial grudge, beat Chen Yu publicly. Chen Yu instinctively rose to fight back, but Zhang Er gave him a discreet kick to stay down. When the official left, Zhang scolded him. "Do you think dying in the hands of a fool is worth it?" Chen Yu reflected and agreed. Years later, both became prime ministers. Had they reacted violently, history might have ended quite differently. 2. A pawn shop owner who refused to quarrel. In the Qing dynasty, an old man named Mr. Wei ran a pawn shop. Just before Lunar New Year, a neighbor, empty-handed, demanded his pledged clothing back. When the staff refused, the man began shouting and cursing. Mr. Wei calmly approached and said, "Friend, it's the new year. Let's not hurt our neighborly ties over a few garments." He returned the essential items, a winter coat, a festive robe, and kept the rest. The man took them and left in silence. That night, he died mysteriously in someone else's home. It turned out he had poisoned himself, hoping to frame Mr. Wei and destroy his shop because of unpaid debts elsewhere. But since Mr. Wei had remained kind, he turned instead to another household, who was then dragged into a long legal battle. 3. Kindness saves a life. In Chengde, a man named Hu Xuanying had a troublesome cousin Lu, known for causing conflict. Most avoided Lu entirely, but Lu constantly mocked and provoked Hu. Still, Hu always responded with a smile and fulfilled every unreasonable demand. One day, Lu barged into Hu's house, cursed him loudly, and helped himself to food and items. Hu bowed and said, "Brother, if I have wronged you in any way, I ask your forgiveness." Then he gave Lu a sack of rice to take home. Just 2 days later, Lu died suddenly. Everyone said Hu had been wise. Had he fought back, he might have been accused, even arrested. Hu wiped cold sweat from his brow and said, "Some people are beyond reason. Arguing with them only invites disaster. I thank heaven. I held back." In restraint, there is power. At first glance, tolerating abuse may look like weakness. You give up pride, suffer insult, and lose some material things. But in the grand weave of fate, this forbearance plants seeds of peace, protection, and virtue. Heaven sees the good heart, and the patient are not forgotten. Story 19: The Eagle's Rebirth, Change or Die. There is a legend about the eagle that has stirred and inspired millions. When an eagle reaches the age of 40, its talons become old and dull, no longer able to grasp prey effectively. Its beak grows long and curved, bending close to its chest. Its wings become heavy with thick, overgrown feathers, making flight slow and painful. At this stage, the eagle has only two choices: wait for death or undergo a painful transformation. If it chooses to live, the eagle must begin a grueling process that lasts 150 days. It flies to a high mountain peak and builds a nest on a steep cliff, its final refuge. There, the eagle begins its rebirth. First, it breaks off its old beak, smashing it against the rock until it falls away. Then it waits, silently, patiently, as a new beak begins to grow. With this new beak, it rips out its own talons, one by one. And once new talons have emerged, it uses them to pluck out its heavy feathers, pulling each one until its body is bare. Only after this long, agonizing process, after 5 months of isolation and endurance, does the eagle grow a new coat of feathers, strong and sleek. Now it can soar once more. The eagle, reborn, lives another 30 years. This is not just the story of a bird. It's the story of an in life, we too reach a point where the old ways no longer work. Old habits no longer serve us. What once carried us forward now holds us back. At those moments, we face the same two choices: cling to the past and decline, or shed what no longer serves us and rise again. Transformation is painful. It demands we let go of comfort, of familiarity, of outdated beliefs and patterns. But if we are willing to endure the hardship, to strip away our ego, our fears, our excuses, we can emerge not only renewed, but stronger, clearer, and more fully ourselves. Life is like a mighty river, endlessly flowing forward. We are like the plum blossom, resilient and bold, blooming even through winter snow, chasing the light of spring. It is in hardship that the strength of life reveals itself. Human existence is a complex dance between the natural world and the inner spirit. It is in this tension between survival and soul that we find our true form. To shed the old and embrace the new is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing evolution. When we struggle and change, we are not failing. We are advancing. We are stepping closer to our best self. Yet, most people live stuck in patterns. They grow comfortable, even in dysfunction, afraid of the pain that change requires. But life will not allow us to stay that way forever. In time, we are all called to transform, to confront our mistakes, confront our flaws, and then we must ask, will we turn away, avoid, and ignore? Or will we learn, grow, and become new? If we wish not to be dragged down by our defects, we must have the courage to shed our old skin. Only by doing so will we find a new life waiting, a life that's lighter, freer, and more radiant than we imagined. The eagle's flight is not just a metaphor. It is a challenge. It is a call to courage. Will you soar, or will you stay grounded, waiting for the end? The choice is yours. Story 20. The curse that failed, when kindness becomes the strongest protection. During the Ming Dynasty, there lived a poor but kind-hearted family. Whenever hungry travelers or disaster-stricken wanderers passed by, the family always offered what little they had: rice, porridge, or a simple corn cake. One day, a man fleeing a flood in the south arrived in their town, hungry and exhausted. Seeing their humble home, he knocked, hoping for food. The woman of the house kindly gave him 2 corn cakes without hesitation. Grateful beyond words, the man said he was a once famous feng shui master, now down on his luck. Though he had no money to repay her, he offered a gift. Let me choose a burial site for your ancestors, a place of powerful energy. In time, your descendants will prosper. Touched, the woman accepted. The master selected a site with perfect feng shui, a protective mountain in front, strong formations behind, a clear lake to the side, and energy flowing like a dragon's breath. He told her, "When your elders pass, bury them here. Within 10 years, fortune will arrive." But despite the noble offer, the bee harbored a hidden motive. He hoped that once the family became wealthy, they would reward him handsomely. His generosity was tainted by expectation. Years passed. The family's elderly matriarch passed away and was buried as instructed. True to the prediction, 10 years later, her son passed the imperial exams as top scholar and became a local governor. The family flourished. The feng shui master returned, confident he would now receive a great reward. The mother, now honored as a matron, welcomed him warmly. "You are the master who chose our ancestral land. My son is now a respected official. Please accept this silver as our deepest thanks." She gave him 10,000 taels of silver, a staggering amount. But the master's greed was not satisfied. He had expected 500,000 taels of gold, a fifth of the imperial treasury. He stormed away, furious, feeling cheated. "If they won't repay me properly," he muttered, "then they don't deserve their fortune." That night, under stormy skies, he sneaked into the ancestral burial site and buried metal filings and mercury, elements used in dark, geomantic sabotage. In 6 months, he thought, their son will be dismissed, shamed, ruined. But 6 months passed, and nothing happened. Instead, the son was promoted to a third-rank court official in the capital. The family grew more prosperous. The master was stunned. He returned to the grave. The mercury and metals he'd buried were gone. There were no signs of digging. No one had disturbed the earth. He was bewildered, unable to understand. Shortly before his death, he had a vision. He saw the earth god of that land, guardian spirit of the mountain, watching him the night he had buried the cursed items. This god had long been worshipped by the kind mother and son, who burned incense and prayed daily. The earth god, seeing his foul act, had quietly removed the poison, preserving the family's fortune. The god spoke, "Those who do good will always be protected. Malice has no power over a virtuous heart." And with that, the feng shui master drew his last breath, defeated not by man, but by heaven. Above your head, 3 feet away, there are spirits watching. Kindness and integrity are the strongest feng shui of all. Story 22, From Beggar to Billionaire. The Power of Gratitude. One of Hong Kong's billionaires once told a journalist, "There was a time in my youth when I had to beg for food. Maybe because of that, I now believe never kick someone when they're down. If you can't help, at least don't harm. And never mock the suffering of others." His wealth came not just from hard work, but from a life built on compassion. He began with nothing, scrubbing floors, running errands, opening a small shop. Years later, he became a real estate tycoon, living to over 90, surrounded by kind and devoted children. Another story. One kind deed changed a life. When Dongfeng was 17, he and two friends traveled to Taizhou in Zhejiang, China, searching for work. But no one would hire them. Homeless and starving, they begged on the street. A bakery owner named Jai Sin Fen saw them, took them in, fed them, and let them rest. She even boiled water for them to soak their blistered feet. Then she called friends in another city to find jobs for them and gave them money for train tickets. Years later, Dongfeng became a wealthy furniture entrepreneur in Shenyang. Never forgetting her kindness, he tracked her down and offered her $160,000 in gratitude, but she refused. "I didn't help you to gain anything," she said. "You've honored me just by remembering. That's enough." So Dongfeng gifted her a plaque that read, "Gratitude as deep as the mountains." He added, "She once told me, earn as much as you want, but never forget to be a person of character." I never forgot those words. The secret of an 800-year legacy. The great Pham Trong Yim, a chancellor in the Song dynasty, was born poor. He once vowed, "If I ever find success, I will help those in need." When he became prime minister, he used his salary to buy farmland, which he then distributed to over 300 families, along with food, clothes, and wedding or funeral support. Once, he bought a house in Suzhou, praised by feng shui masters as a place of great fortune. But instead of keeping it, he donated it to build a school, saying, "If all the children of Suzhou flourish, isn't that better than one family living well?" Though there's an old saying, wealth doesn't last 3 generations, his descendants thrived for 8 centuries. His children became high officials. His great-grandchildren continued to live by his motto, "Worry before the people worry. Rejoice after the people rejoice." Their wealth wasn't material, it was built on virtue. Even the best feng shui can't save a wicked heart. The infamous Qin Hui, a corrupt official in the Song dynasty, once forced a great geomancer to find him a burial site that would bless his descendants with noble titles for generations. The geomancer complied, but secretly chose a cursed land, saying, "If this place prospers, there is no justice in heaven." After Qin Hui buried his ancestors there, he gloated, certain that fortune would follow. But soon after, a storm shattered the landscape, reshaping the land's energy. The place that once promised prosperity became a ruinous domain. What seemed like a blessing turned into a curse. Final reflections. Ancient stories all echo the same wisdom. Goodness is the root of true fortune. Without virtue, no wealth, no power, no position can last.